As a woman walked down the streets one day, she spotted a beggar. The man looked pretty old, unshaven, and ill-dressed. Every passerby looked at him with contempt, not like they had anything against him, but merely because of who he was, filthy beggar. But when this particular woman saw him, she was filled with compassion. The beggar was improperly dressed for a weather so cold. Precisely, he wasn't dressed by wrapped up in what looked like a coat from a very old and not so warm suit. She kindly asked the man, "Sir, are you all right?" The man looked at the woman, who clearly, by her appearance, was a demonstration of what people from a wealthy background look like. The old beggar thought that she, like every other person, was mocking him. "Leave me alone," he growled. The woman did not move. Instead, to his surprise, she smiled at him and gently asked if he was hungry. "No, I've just come from dining with the president. Now, go away," the beggar replied with a notable sarcasm. The woman's smile did not fade. She slid her hands under the beggar's arm and tried to pick him up. "Woman, what do you think you are doing?" The beggar sounded annoyed. "Is there a problem, ma'am?" a policeman shouted, walking towards the lady and the beggar. "Not at all, officer. I'm just trying to get this man to his feet. Will you help me?" the woman replied. The policeman looked at her with surprise. "That man is old Jack and has been here for years. What have you got to do with him anyway?" "I am taking him to a cafeteria to eat something and to get him out of the cold for a while," the woman answered. "Are you crazy, lady?" the homeless man resisted. "I don't want to go there." Then he felt strong hands grab his other arm and lift him up. "Let me go, officer. I didn't do anything." "It's a good chance to feed yourself, Jack. Don't blow it," the officer advised. After a lot of difficulty, the woman and the officer managed to drag Jack into the cafeteria. It was past breakfast and too early for lunch hour of the day. The manager strode towards the table and asked, "What's going on here, officer?" he asked. "Is this man in trouble?" "She brought old Jack in here to be fed," the policeman answered. "Not in my cafeteria. People like him are bad for business," the manager angrily retorted. "Now you know why I didn't want to come in here, woman," Jack said to the lady. "Now, let me go. I never wanted to be here in the first place." The woman turned to the cafeteria manager and smiled. "Ma'am, I reckon you. You know Eddie and Associates, the banking firm down the street?" "Of course I do," the manager answered impatiently. "They hold their weekly meetings in one of my banquet rooms. And I guess you make a good amount of money through those meetings. Why does it concern you anyway? Because I am the CEO of the company, the woman replied, showing no sign of pride in her statement. Oh, it was all that the manager managed to say. She looked at the officer. Would you like to join us in a cup of coffee and a meal, officer? No, thanks, Mom. The officer replied, I'm on duty. Then perhaps a cup of coffee to go. Yes, Mom, that would be very nice. I'll get your coffee for you right away, officer. The manager immediately replied. You serve him right, he said. Oh, believe me, officer, that was not what I intended. I have a reason behind all this. She stared at Jack intently and asked, Jack, do you remember me? Old Jack examined her face. Well, you do look familiar, he thoughtfully added. Do you remember a cold and hungry girl who frequently visited this place when you worked here? The woman asked. She has perhaps grown old, hasn't she? The officer looked surprised. He couldn't imagine this fine-looking woman as a poor and hungry woman. I had just graduated and had come to the city looking for a job. Didn't find one for a really long time. I was running out of cash and had been asked to vacate my apartment too. I live on the streets for days. It was the cold month of February, I still remember. And that's when I found this place. I walked in hoping to find eatable my little budget could afford. Jack's face suddenly light up. Now I remember you. I used to be at the counter. You came up and asked me if you could work for something to eat. I said that it was against company policy. I know, the woman said. Then you offered me the biggest roast beef sandwich, a cup of coffee, and a table for me to sit and enjoy the meal. I saw you put the price of my food in the cash register. So you started your own business? Old Jack asked. No, not exactly. That very afternoon, I got a job. I worked my way up. Then I started my own business. She opened her purse and pulled out a business card. Please pay a visit to the personal director of my company. I'll go talk to him now. I am sure there is something in my office for which we can use your help. We can even pay you a certain amount of salary in advance. Fighting back the tears, Jack asked, How can I ever repay your kindness? You don't have to, the woman answered. Thank Jesus, He led me to you. Thank you for all your help, officer, she said to him as they both walked out the door. On the contrary, Miss Eddie, thank you. I saw a miracle today. And of course, thank you for the coffee.